welcome to another episode of the EMS Wizard podcast. We have a special guest tonight. We have the chief of EMS at
Mark. You need to get it right, or else it is Cape Fear Valley Health doing business as Cumberland County EMS. You get it right. You don't want to deal with the repercussions. Doing business as DBA. Yes,
DBA. Yeah, I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
Is there a river in Fayetteville?
Cape Fear River.
The Cape Fear River is in Fayetteville?
It is. It runs right through.
There you go. So that right there is enough for you to get that name right off the bat, or else.
Mm-hmm. A river runs through it. Got it.
Correct. So Cape Fear Valley Health.
So if there's a river, does it flood there?
Is that a question?
If it's a river, does it flood?
I guess it could.
Okay, just checking. I was just asking.
It used to flood. They used to take a riverboat all the way to Wilmington and back and forth, shuttle supplies back and forth from Fayetteville to Wilmington back in the day.
Like in the 60s and the 70s? What?
1860s and 70s?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's all right. Whatever.
So there was enough water there to travel that far. Did y'all have enough water to where, like the Outer Banks has all these shark attacks all the time?
Oh, crap.
Oh, there it is.
That is straight out of the Outer Banks.
Mark, watch out. They're going to get you.
You know how I know that shark's not from the Outer Banks?
Because it's not in a rip current right now.
Exactly. See what you've learned on the podcast so far?
Such an educational podcast. This is the purpose.
That's the thing.
Educational podcasts. So,
but you know what? That shark is not riding a train either.
No, not interested. Correct. Choo-choo. No choo-choo.
No choo-choo. So anyway, Dave, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, our 10th episode of the EMS Wizard podcast. We have David Grovdahl. He is the director of EMS for
Cape Fear Valley Health, doing business as Cumberland County EMS.
Thank you, Terry. David, thank you for joining us tonight, man.
Wow. It's an honor to be here with such an esteemed group for the number 10.
He said esteemed, even though Walter's on here. Congratulations.
I was actually thinking about you, but
you know what?
He who is with us.
He who is with us and does not have my angel wings tonight. Just remember that. I'd still get pictures of them, though. I got one this weekend, by the way.
Special.
So, David, Cape Fear Valley Health, DBA, Cumberland County EMS, a hospital-based EMS system. There's a lot of differences between hospital-based EMS and county government-run EMS or even privatized EMS. So just give us a highlight on what you see some of those differences are with Cumberland County EMS. That's what I'm just going to call it, Cumberland County EMS. Is that what I can call it?
Absolutely.
Cumberland County EMS. So, what are some of the differences you've seen with, your EMS agency at Cumberland County EMS versus other EMS agencies?
Yes. So our EMS system is actually broken up into 3 divisions. We are Mobile Integrated Health. Is our overall department name, and Cumberland County EMS represents the largest part of that department. We are 911 for Cumberland County. We're about a 74,000 call volume system. We have a LifeLink division that is our interfacility transport. That's the BLS and ALS transport, the critical care, and then we have 3 helicopters that make up that division. And then we have a Hope County, which is a contract service in the next county over. We have several hospitals in Harnett and Bladen, and Hoke, and in Cumberland County. So a big department, 100,000 call volume overall system. But I think that's what makes us a little bit different is we divide our system out. Most of your county-based systems, either you do all the above or you do one or the other, and maybe you have a contract provider that franchises to do like your non-emergent if you're up in the Triangle area. But as a hospital-based system, I think really that's our uniqueness. We have that connection with the hospital, which definitely allows some great opportunities, but also has some drawbacks to it in the 911 that some people probably don't realize.
And you have 3 helicopters.
We do, yes. We're not Dare County, not one, not
Yeah.
two, but
3 times
three
as many.
helicopters. Yep.
I heard that. That stood out to me. 3 helicopters. That's amazing when you have 3 helicopters.
It is, because if you have to have that many helicopters, because one, I don't know. I just feel like one stands for itself. So you don't need any more.
It does.
Well, if one's good, 3 must be better, right?
I think so.
Yes. No.
3 times the expense too, no doubt.
No doubt.
Well, I think with that kind of call volume, though, you can definitely support the use of 3 aircraft very easily, and then supporting the region around. So how many counties do you kind of reach out to with those 3 aircraft?
So we actually have one that's down on the South Carolina border in Scotland County. So they do make runs down into South Carolina.
Wow.
Both picking up and dropping off. I heard a stat the other day. We've transported as far as Charleston, I believe, with the aircraft. But we have one in Bladen as well, and we have one at Harnett County at one of our hospitals there. So yeah, the aircraft stay very, very busy. I think they put the newest one in service a couple months ago in Bladen County, and it has been busy since the day it started.
And David, when we talked a couple of weeks ago, you were telling me a little bit about that area, and you had said, I didn't know this, and I found this pretty surprising, that the emergency department there in Fayetteville at the hospital is like the 10th busiest in the United States.
Yeah, it's the 10th busiest in the United States. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 patients a year they see.
Wow.
Which is hard to imagine. And the first question is, oh my goodness, you're that, how are you that busy? And how do you compare that against Dallas and whatnot, and some of the big cities? And a lot of it is because we have one hospital in Cumberland County. So everybody goes there for all their major care. But the other one is if you think about it geographically, what's the next closest really large hospital? Wilmington, Raleigh. So for about 4 or 5, 6 counties, we are the big hospital. So everybody brings their patients to us. So I think when you think about it geographically, it makes sense. It's not as surprising because there's not a lot of hospitals in the area to choose from. So a lot of small hospitals, but no really big ones. And we're busting at the seams from the healthcare side. The hospital's full all the time, so we're growing the hospital, and the community's not slowing down at all.
Now, Dave, are you just the EMS director for Cumberland County portion of that, or do you does each, the NIH, the LifeLink, the transport, all those, do they have their own director as well, or do you oversee those? How does that work?
Yeah, so LifeLink has their own director, and Hoke has their own director. What's really interesting is that we share some things, and so like fleet management, the mechanic shop, Cumberland County actually has those things. So I oversee them, but Hoke and LifeLink, all their vehicles are serviced by us. We have the majority of the logistics. We do a lot of the training in the QA. Hoke and LifeLink have their divisions. They have training and QA people for that, but we have the community paramedic program. And so some of the things we share, some of them are unique to each one of them. Just depends on what subsection you're talking about.
Gotcha. So, Dave, what motivated, inspired you to get into, I say, EMS and then kind of coming up to being the director where you are today, or the chief where you are today?
Jokingly, I say I've never been good at following rules or taking orders, and so I realized I needed to be the boss. But some of that is actually not an untrue statement. I've always enjoyed sort of pushing the envelope a little bit, and really breaking the norms, or some of the traditions of EMS. That's the way we've always done it, so that's the way we're going to do it. Not a big fan of that. And I love being innovative, and whatever's best for the community, just doing those things. And it may not be right for the agency next to us or the agency across the state, but if it's right for us, then I'm going to want to do it. One of my favorite things is Dr. Winslow one time said, when I see your number pop up on my phone, it makes me nervous to answer it because I don't know what you're about to ask me. And so I definitely take that as a compliment.
So are you a North Carolina bred paramedic, or are you from somewhere else?
No, I'm probably the biggest nomadic person you've encountered. I started in Dallas Fort Worth in the Texas area, went down to Central Texas.
Cowboys are from there, right?
The Cowboys are from there. Yes.
Just checking.
You don't like the Cowboys, do you?
No, not at all.
What?
Okay.
No.
Okay. Good.
What?
Good. That makes my day. That makes my day. Then.
I'm pleased with this.
Bad news. Not a Braves fan either. So.
Sorry, we're starting to lose a little bit of our connection here.
Mark, do the outro. John's upset. He's
roll the credits.
I can see now where you're going to fall on the best friends list, Dave.
Official best friends. Never mind.
Just when I was moving up the ladder.
A horrible question for me to ask.
Yeah, so I went down to Central Texas, and I found out that I really enjoy hospital-based EMS. One of the nuances that a hospital has is you always have direct access to physicians and medicine. And I've been around big hospitals where they've really pushed the envelope when it comes to medicine. And I thoroughly enjoyed that when I was in Texas. Guy who worked for me at our hospital called me up one day because he had moved to Wyoming and said, "Hey, you want to go fly in Wyoming?" And of course, if anybody ever offers to let you fly around Wyoming, the answer is always yes. So we moved to Casper, Wyoming, and I got to spend one day on a ground ambulance, the next day on a helicopter, and the next day on an airplane. And then,
wow.
Yeah, wash, rinse, repeat, 7 days on, 7 days off, 12-hour shifts. And it was a blast. Wyoming is absolutely gorgeous, from one end of the state to the other. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. Got the opportunity to go back to school, learn that, in a lot of places, if you don't have your college degree, it's very difficult to promote. And so went back to school and got a bachelor's and a master's degree, which has served me well, and took a director job in very rural Oklahoma. Had a blast, super rural EMS system. So I really, really enjoyed that, and then came over to North Carolina. So that's been my pathway. Not a very direct one, but if you want to move up, sometimes you have to be willing to move out, and so that's been my philosophy.
David, one thing I remember, whenever I think it was Terry and I was teaching the Officer 1 class out there for you guys a few months ago. Just follow me with the story here. Don't get hung up on the details. But I went to the restroom, and while I was in the restroom, I got to noticing, on the back, the door of the stall, there's this list of people's names and phone numbers, and I was like, "What is this?" I got to reading it, and it was the names and phone numbers of the people that's part of the peer support team.
Thank God.
And then as I'm at the sink,
I wondered where we were going. I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
I was
what?
in the bathroom.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where it was going. I'm glad you prefaced. Yeah.
And we've gotten so low. We've gotten so low on the podcast now. We got to tell bathroom stories,
potty stories,
because I have
stories
some
from Cape Fear Valley.
I have a few.
No.
Yeah, to answer your question, Mark, Cape Fear Valley, there's a lot of great things about Cape Fear, and I don't get to take credit for most of them, and that is absolutely one of them. There's a great culture in EMS that is not because of me. That culture was set in way before I got there. I was very thankful to see it. The other one was peer support at Cape Fear Valley is very embraced. Cape Fear Valley has a great EAP program. It's internal. We have our own staff, our own service line, psychiatry service line that very much supports the EAP process. And
That's awesome.
We have dedicated staff, and the director of the EAP program, his name's John Sutton. He does not understand paramedics, or he didn't at a time. And so he seeked us out and learned about them. And our peer supports, the peer group, they're very much people who want to be a part of the program. They have a great leader with Leslie Campbell. And that's just one thing that they did. They posted up that roster, and it's everywhere. It's not just in the bathrooms. Every door in the building has that roster. So you know who your peer support group is amongst your staff. And it is one program, I have to say, our medics are not afraid to go to EAP. There is no shunning that goes with it. There's a lot of people who regularly do mental health check-ins, and so very thankful about that group and what they do with us to keep our group, because it's a cliche thing these days to say you have a mental health program, but we really do have a robust one. And our call volume and the acuity of calls really mandates that we have a strong program.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you something real quick before Terry gets into what he's going to ask. And that is, do you have a number that you could share or email for people out there listening and are like, hey, sounds like you got the peer support thing down pretty good, and that's a new thing. Who could they reach out to there to try to get some information on that?
Absolutely. Anybody's always welcome to reach out to me, and I will connect you with all the right people. Nothing for us is proprietary. We will share everything because we want everybody to know, and people are more than welcome to come see us and ride with us and hang out with us. We'll introduce you and let you talk to them face to face, or you can email me, dgrovdahl at capefearvalley.com, or you can call us 910-615-5651. Easy to find and absolutely willing to share.
.com, not .gov. Okay, just
yeah, we're a .com.
Okay. Hey, so Dave, it's, I may have lost count, 4 states, so North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma, and Wyoming that you've worked. And so what do you think is something? I guess I have a 2-part question. Is what's something that's unique to North Carolina, or one of the things that I may be pleasantly surprised, or where you say, wow, this is really awesome that we do this in North Carolina? And the second part of that is from those other places where you've been, what's maybe something that you would say, I wish I could bring this to North Carolina, or I experienced this in this place. So tell us about that. I mean, everything's bigger in Texas and it's beautiful out in Wyoming, but what would you bring, and what do you love about North Carolina?
I think I love the EMS system model, that every county regulates itself, and looks out for itself. You don't have a tremendous amount of government intrusion. So I really like the EMS system model, that every county is a little bit different. We recognize that we have unity in the fact that we have statewide protocols. Everything's modifiable to your area. So if you're out in Avery County, my daughter goes to school out in Avery County at the university there, and when we go out there, it is very, very different than Fayetteville. I don't think there's anything that's alike. Their response times are totally different. The seasons are different. So, their call volume types are different. And so, every system is modeled by what their needs are. So, that's absolutely a thing that I love, that North Carolina allows it to be built. We're unified as one, but we are allowed to be unique. I think I would have to say, what is one thing I wish we did have, and everything's bigger than in Texas. One of the things I really didn't realize until I left Texas is every system, the state does not regulate your protocol sets. So, why is it that a lot of the innovative stuff comes out of Texas? It's because the medical director can sign the protocol set and make it automatic the moment he signs it. So, good, bad, or indifferent, they can really push the envelope because they don't have to go through medical boards or state medical directors or any of those kinds of things.
So it's a little bit of the wild west, not really, but you have that individual creativity or to be able to say, hey, I'm going to try this and see if that works. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say one thing that North Carolina was lacking after leaving Texas was a football team, which is true.
Yeah, from my time in Oklahoma, the dynasty that is OU, and as my daughter's a college softball player, so everything in my life focuses around softball. So, the greatest dynasty in college softball history is there in Oklahoma.
You brought blood, it seems like, to North Carolina. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that process was.
Yeah, so prior to being at Cape Fear Valley, I was in Onslow County. I was the director at Onslow County for 4 years. And one of the great things I love about Fayetteville, also loved about Onslow County, is the military. There's a huge military presence both with Fort Liberty and Camp Lejeune, or Lejeune. And the Navy had a very big piece of the EMS system in Onslow County, and so they had two incredible doctors that were part of the hybrid system there. One EMS system, two different ambulance services with Camp Lejeune Fire EMS and then Onslow County EMS. They shared medical directors, and so there was an ER doctor, Dr. Joe Katora, and a trauma surgeon, Dr. Doug Corney. And Dr. Katora was a recovering paramedic, had been a paramedic in New Jersey for a long time before going to med school. And so he absolutely is one of those push the envelope kind of guys. If it's good medicine in the ED and it's something that could be done in the field, he was all for doing it. And so sitting around the table one day, we were talking, he was telling me all about blood, use in the Middle East and blood use in Africa, and everywhere where the Navy and the Army Rangers were, they had blood available, and just like helicopters in Vietnam and tourniquets and everything else that they were doing on the battlefield, blood became the next revolution. And so when Dr. Picorni joined us, he came up from San Antonio, and he was part of the whole blood initiative in San Antonio, Texas. And so when he came aboard at Camp Lejeune, he brought all that knowledge with him. And it really was not as hard as it sounds to start a whole blood program. And so, we worked out the logistics. It took us a good 6 or 8 months to do it, just because it was the first program in North Carolina. So a lot of hoops to jump through, but very, very doable and very, very successful. It was only within, about 30, 45 days, we started having some pretty incredible saves with the whole blood.
And you're starting to see systems really follow suit with that. I noticed at the last conference we were at there, the amount of systems that are starting to do blood administration. So kudos to you getting that started out there and at least laying out a platform for folks to follow, at least a roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a North Carolina Blood Coalition now. Jeff Henshaw of the athletic training, Wake Forest land. He really helped push it in the western part of the state, and Joe Zalkin has started the coalition and across the state. So it's gaining traction. I think we're up to 10 counties or so, with more talking about coming on. So it's a great thing, because whole blood is the greatest game changer in trauma in probably the last 20 years.
Hey, Dave, with EMS and management and EMS management, I guess the industry of managers and moving up, how have you seen that change? And from where you have been compared to North Carolina, how do you see that? And what's the changes with that you may want to comment on?
I think as directors, our job is really to um, create opportunities for the next generation. We've got to not be afraid to pass the torch or to prepare people. I knew, back when I was a young medic, if you were a bright star of a paramedic, you were considered to be a threat. And so, a lot of EMS directors would not allow you to promote. And there was not a lot of big EMS systems, so there was not a lot of opportunity. And I think in this generation, people leave because they feel like they're not going to promote in their system. The only way to promote is if somebody dies. And so we've really, especially at Cumberland County, really tried to create a lot of opportunities. We have a professional track or an operational track. We have an education track. So if you want to be a director someday, we're going to help you do that. Be a step up supervisor and fill in those spaces. We're going to make you an advanced practice paramedic. We're going to give you those opportunities in leadership. So, if education tracks where you want to go, field training, and then moving on up in the instructor world. So I think we have to set our people up for success. I think Terry and I were talking earlier today about succession planning, and that's a lot of what we have to do.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so to go in a slightly different direction as we're getting close to closing out. Dave, if you could go back, you've been doing this, 20 plus years. And so that young college student who's finishing paramedic class, and if you could go back to the future and talk to young Dave and say, hey, give one piece of advice or information or nugget, what is it that the Dave of today would tell that young Dave?
I would definitely say don't be afraid to venture out. Don't be afraid to, if the system that you're in isn't providing for you, go to another system, be it in your state that you're in or not. Don't be afraid to move around in order to move up, and take those chances and take those experiences, and probably spend an even more amount of time studying other systems. We joke about Dare County, but I love studying Dare County. I love studying Wake County and Charlotte and Avery County and Mitchell and Watauga. Everybody's got something to offer. Everybody does a little bit different. So good stuff.
Sounds like to me you're saying that sometimes 25 1-year pins is better than 125-year pin.
Mm. Don't start down that path.
Only John Wilson.
Donate. Just donate. Walter, Walter, what did you have to?
So lastly, finish it up, Dave. EMS at the OBX is coming up in October, and you're one of those speakers, correct?
I am. I'll be talking about hot topics in EMS this year.
So if you're listening and have not signed up yet for EMS at the OBX, there's still some spots available. Some of the pre-con and post-con are full and are filling up pretty quick. But if you want to come here, Dave and Mark and Terry and John and I as well, then EMS at the OBX is coming up. The dates are October the 7th and 8th of pre-con, and then the 9th and 10th are the conference, and then we got some post-conference on the 11th and 12th. So Dave, we look forward to seeing you.
Walter will be with us. Yeah,
I actually will be there. I will not be wearing my angel wings. You know what? I may have to get angel wings now just for you, Terry. Probably not, but y'all put them on me all the time. So
he may have wings, but he's no angel.
So
Also we'll be doing, this might be a good time to mention that we'll be doing a live broadcast of EMS Wizard podcast Sunday night when we're down there as well. So if you want to be a part of that live audience, you can come out there at EMS of the Abyx. If you find yourself already out there, then I think the location is to be determined, but we'll definitely put that out there. It'd be a good opportunity to come out and
probably John Wilson's hotel room.
You mean I really have to sit in the same room with y'all? It's
going to be weird.
Dave, just think about me. Dave, just think about me.
Make better choices.
Chose your company, sir. You chose your company.
I know.
You may have to stand up though, Walter, because we may not have enough seats. I may actually bring all of my real best friends with me this time.
Dave, do you have a best friend?
You are all my best friends.
That's the best answer there's been yet. The best answer there's been yet.
I may be 5th on your death chart, but you're number 1 on mine.
But you know what? None of us are number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on John Wilson's best friend chart. Just so we all understand that.
Let me explain. It's because I sent Terry on a mission to gather stuff for me from certain QRV, and he failed at that mission. And so
I don't even know. Isn't there a book? There's a book, How to Be a Best Friend If Your Name's Not Keith. I hear it sold 11 copies in the last 18 years that it's been published.
Hey, one more thing to mention. We have our opportunity for the people to finish out the Officer 2 class. That'll be coming up soon too. The EMS Officer 2 administration class, we're gonna be doing that at Johnson in just a couple of weeks. And if about 4 or 5 people attend that, they'll be the first ones to actually complete the entire series. It's kind of a big deal.
I'll go. I kind of want to go.
It's kind of a big deal. Dave, you're helping with that. It's Dave Francisco Grovdahl.
I think you and I are tag teaming on that one, actually.
Yes. Yep. Now the room's going to be full.
Because of Dave.
I would, if you're tag teaming, I would watch out for Rock Fleer, because I've heard that diamonds are forever.
I think it's Rick.
No, it's Rock Fleer, because it doesn't matter if you're in the longest line of the oldest ride.
No idea who you're talking about.